is the principal at Higher Ground Christian School, Tammy Brayman. Is that right?
Yep.
Did I get it right?
Yes.
You know, I decided I wanted to come out to Higher Ground Christian School because it's in Medicine Hat. And I think it's the farthest school from the conference office. Would you say that's probably true?
Probably. Most of them are central, so.
There's a corridor, you know, Calgary all the way up to Edmonton and a little farther and many places in between. So I think this one is the school that's kind of out of the way. And I decided I wanted to come and visit your school.
Yeah.
And you know, I came to this school and they said, let's go to this room. And I'm going, wow. And I want you to just tell me what this is before we get going on the whole interview.
This is our tower garden that we invested in last year. I guess we had it growing last year. This year we got the lights on it, and it allows us to have some different things growing in the classroom all year round if we want. And right now we've got some lettuce and basil and arugula, cilantro. We're trying some cucumber this time. We'll see what happens.
I saw it around the corner.
Spinach.
Yes.
Yep.
So what do you do with it? Do you have a salad for lunch with all the kids?
So far, we haven't done a whole, yes.
It's an experiment.
Last year, it was kind of planted toward the end of the year, so I actually harvested off of it a lot last summer, and I ended up giving a bunch of it away.
It's a fascinating thing, and I thought, wow, that's
Yeah.
really exciting in this classroom. We talked about how far you are from the rest of all the schools, and I'm going to just do a little bit of a history here. And maybe correct me if I'm wrong, if you know it. Higher Ground Christian School began in the 77-78 or the 78-79 school year. And that's right? It says on the wall, 77. So
77. Well, they actually started in the church before that, and then they were able to build up here. And one year, and I don't remember the exact dates, but the one year they had just the one little part of the building with a couple of classrooms, and where we're sitting here actually I believe was open as kind of like a basement area, and that's where they played because they didn't have the gym end built on. And then the next year they got the gym end built on, and yeah, it was all before I was born, but
well, you know, in the history that I have, it talked about just that. There was it operated sporadically in the church basement.
Yep.
And then Harry Viner donated some church property or something. And this was when Pastor Farag and his wife Dola were here.
Yes.
And she was the teacher, he was the pastor of the church. So that was quite a while ago, because I remember that, but it was a long time ago. I'm sure that there are people in the conference that do remember Pastor and Mrs. Farag. And then the gym came along in the 80-81 school year.
Oh, okay.
So now you've learned something.
Now I'm learning something new.
In 2005, the SAAMIS immigration started the wanting to have some English as a second language, and you put it in they put it into the curriculum at that point. So that was kind of an interesting thing, because it told you that the city was growing, there was lots of immigration, but it isn't part of the curriculum right now. But I understand that there is some.
We do have a couple of ESL students, because a lot of the ESL is just building it into the language arts and helping to scaffold what they need to help learn the English language too. Yeah.
Do you still have a bus that runs? Because they had a bus back then.
We don't currently own our own bus. We actually contract out now.
Oh, okay.
It's a little easier.
Okay. And it also said in my little history that I was very pleased that the education department at the conference found for me, because I wanted to know the history. The Medicine Hat Church supports the school financially, and it means that there's free tuition. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing to have your churches that are backing your school helping you so much that you can have free tuition. So there's a couple of names for this church. this church school. Medicine Hat SDA Church School. Then it was Vinerville Christian Academy. I guess that was named after that special person.
Yep, after the man who donated the land.
And then it became Higher Ground Christian School. So it's fully accredited along with the government of Alberta under the umbrella of the Alberta Conference. And it has kindergarten to grade 9?
Kindergarten through grade 9, yep.
How many students does it have?
We have currently 15 right now. We're missing, I think, students from maybe only 2 grades, but otherwise we have all the way from K through 9 of 15 students.
And you have started back in school for this year, full time?
Oh yes,
But
oh yes.
Through COVID, what happened?
We were pretty full time last year too. We had lots of restrictions, and then of course the government had us go online a couple of times. Yes. I mean, it was kind of nice in a way. One of the times we went online was not because of government restrictions; it was because of cold. So we didn't lose all our days because now we could do online school all of a sudden. So that was kind of nice.
Well, that's good. And so it also is part and evaluated by the SDCC Church in Canada,
yes,
and also the American Division. And unknown to us when we decided to do this, there was a review of the evaluation that usually happens.
Yeah,
and so,
we're in our mid.
So the Director of Education and the Associate Director of Education are actually in a different room doing their assessment. So that was pretty interesting. So how long have you been here though?
This is my 5th year here.
Oh, you've been here that long?
Yep. That's
good. You know everything about the school then.
maybe not.
We found out that we have 15 students this year. Is that high or is that low?
That's low. When I first came, we had 27, I think, and so we would like to get it back up there, but demographics change and
people come and go.
Students age out, and so
that's how it works. So I was just wondering if there was anything that's been exciting this year, or you're going to do that's exciting. There's only a few months left, a couple of months.
Well, I think probably for us, we really missed doing field trips last year. Yeah. So we were quite excited that we were able to start doing field trips again this year. And in the fall, we just started by going to King Cooley Park and doing pond studies and looking for bugs and stuff. And we were able to go skating, and we like to be able to get out. We like to be able to do things. We were able to get pretty creative the year before and doing things right here in the school, even. Yeah, and we do a big sports day usually each year, and so we've missed that for a couple of years. Last year we did one just here on the school, but usually we go down to the Crescent Heights High School and invite all the homeschoolers in as well. And one of our previous principals, Mr. Smith, actually comes and helps to run that. And so this year the plan is for that to happen again, and he's planning to come end of May, and we're going to do that again.
So there are exciting things happening.
So we do have some exciting things happening.
I know that the conference goes down to Foothills Camp and does outdoor school and various other things. You go.
So we were excited to be able to do that again this year. And we took the 7/8s and the 9s went out as well this year, and we had a really good time, and the grade 5 and 6 are really looking forward to it coming up in a few weeks here.
Yes, it takes from 0 to whatever your school goes to, even if it's an academy, it goes and all those kids come to Foothills and they have a really good time, I understand.
Yes.
Is there any community involvement that you have your students do?
We do. We had some guest speakers come in from the community to talk about, it was Canadian Humanitarian, talking about different things that they do around the world. And we also each year, we didn't get to this last fall, but usually we rake leaves in the fall. And we are actually, after lunch today, doing our neighborhood cleanup, and we try to match that with Earth Day, which was just last week.
That's right. I actually saw a sign on one of the doors that said Earth Day, and I went, wow, they celebrated Earth Day. So it's continuing since the day, and now you're going out this afternoon.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful afternoon out there to go and be outside. Speaking about, is there involvement in church? Do you do anything in church to help the church?
We do. I don't know.
Do you want me to ask the pastor?
If you want to do it, yeah, add any on this or not, or if you want me just to talk, but
Well, you can do some talking and he can do some talking.
well, I'll add some of that. Each year at Christmas and at the end of the year, instead of doing our program up here at the school, we actually take it to the church and do it during the church service. And then all the parents come to church, and because not all of our parents are Adventists, and the students are there in the church and giving to the church members with their programs, as well as we do some praise about once a quarter or so as well. So.
Okay, so you are involved in keeping your 15 students and the teachers and the helpers and
As much as we can. I
Yes.
was a little bit slow during COVID.
Oh, for sure.
We actually taped the kids and sent the videos down to the church during that time. But
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And we talked about the church, and we talked about this gentleman that is sitting at the table also. Pastor Ryan Reeves, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
You know, you're not that new here in the conference, but you are kind of new as a pastor.
Very so. Yeah.
And how long have you been at the Medicine Hat Church?
Since July 2020, so almost 2 years.
So you've been a COVID pastor.
I've been a COVID pastor. It's all I know. It's all I know.
And it's going to change what you've been doing for 2 whole years.
Yeah, I will say that the last 2 years have been about adaptation, communication, and encouraging individuals just to look past their discomforts, to work with the situation, and also reconnect in the ways that we can reconnect with whatever limitations are there.
So she's told us a little bit about what the school does for the church. What does the church do for the school?
There's a long history of the church supporting the school.
Yes.
Being that the school is based in Medicine Hat and there's only one Seventh-day Adventist church, it has been a mainstay.
Yes.
And so from a history perspective, the school has been a mission in a way for the church. It's a way to reach the community. It's a way to help others understand about our education system and even about our beliefs as Adventists. And so it's a form of evangelism from a historical perspective. And so when you look at it that way, there's been that support, but there's also the financial support. That's a big part of it. And, you know, we're very grateful from a school board perspective for all the support the church does give the school here as well.
That is a very interesting, view on it, because most schools, or some of the schools, have several churches that are part of their constituency. And here in Medicine Hat, you have one church, and that one church does a lot of support. So, as the pastor, do you come to the school and provide them personally some things, not as the church, but as the pastor of the church? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, it changes with each year so far. I find out what the teachers are wanting or needing, and we work with that within my schedule. And so this year, I'm here Wednesday mornings, and we have PE with the lower grades, sometimes with the upper grades as well, if they're free or not. And I take care of that. And then I'm here Thursday mornings for worship as well. So those are the primary weekly visits that I do. But then there's different events. If there's a special event or a party or track and field, or I even remember last year they just wanted to have a water fight. And so we had a water fight. But in Medicine Hat, it's always warm. But that day it wasn't. And the kids drenched me and I was cold, but it was a wonderful day.
Oh my, you are a good pastor. If you can come and be with the kids and get cold and wet for them, then they will remember you. I did actually go into the gym, because when I talked to you just last night and asked you if you would be willing to come and talk with us, you said, well, I'm going to be there anyway. And I went, oh, so I already knew that you were involved a bit in things that happen at the school. So I was really glad to hear that. And so that you do come and do worships and things. You know, it was a very pleasant drive from Lacombe to Medicine Hat. I haven't done it frequently. I've driven through the city and that's all I've ever done. So it was very pleasant to come here and be with you. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us?
Well, I got something if you.
Go for it.
I forgot I was going to ask you about that lovely playground.
That's what I was going to
outside.
talk about.
Perfect.
The playground, you know, I just get here, it's COVID, you're just getting your feet wet, figuring things out, first posting, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear, we got a playground, but you got to install it.
How did you get a playground?
Well, it was bought before I got here, but from my understanding, it was for $1 because it wasn't needed at the facility where it was, and there's a group here locally that helps reclaim such playgrounds and put them to good use. So it cost a lot more to install than it did to purchase. But when I got here, you know, there are funds that are already raised from years of different activities so that it was all set to go. We just had to organize the crew and get going, and there was a lot of support for that. And over a week, we ended up installing the playground, getting it set up, and the kids would watch each day and they get excited to see what was coming because it's a wonderful playground.
It is.
And in the spring and in the fall, they're out there all the time, and they want me to play tag a lot.
See,
Whatever variation of
you're
tag is there.
a good
Yeah.
pastor for being out on the playground with the
Yeah.
kids. And we did notice it when we drove in. I thought, that's a pretty good playground. You know, they've got the gym, they've got the playground, they've got the school. It looks like they have everything they need. I hope that you as listeners have enjoyed coming to Higher Ground Christian School with me as I've come here to learn about what goes on here and a little bit about the background of the school. You know, there's always ways that members out in the community of our churches and in our conference can help you. And I know that probably the most important one is through prayer. And so we ask you to pray for the Higher Ground Christian School because they are a long ways from everybody else. And I'm sure that their teachers, how many teachers do you have?
We have just 2 of us.
You and a teacher
Just me and the teacher.
and an educational assistant? No, it's a volunteer.
Volunteer.
She's a volunteer.
She's a volunteer.
Wow. So, you know, they need encouragement. And I hope that you as listeners will encourage them. They all have email addresses. The school has an email address, and it would be nice to have them hear from you on occasion. Thank you so much, both Tammy and Pastor Reeves, for being with me today as we've talked just a little bit, about what happens at Higher Ground Christian School. And thank you for being with us too.